You're listening to What It's Like with Luce, a podcast highlighting ordinary people doing extraordinary things. I'm your host Lucy Norris, and on today's episode, I'm chatting to a former Danish reality TV star, professional dancer, recording artist, and vegan activist. Beginning her entertainment career at the age of 2, by 12, this ambitious performer had already signed onto her own reality TV show that would eventually lead her to make the big move to LA. Leaving behind a recording contract in Denmark, the then 18-year-old had her sights set on the City of Angels and packed her bags to follow her dreams all by herself. Settling into the crazy whirlwind of Los Angeles didn't quite plan out the way she'd hoped, and it took a near-fatal facial disease to give her the wake-up call she'd been searching for. Sharing her rise to fame, how she navigated the toxic nature of the notorious city, and her journey with veganism alongside founding her non-for-profit organization starts with one today. Here's what it's like to be Victoriah Bech. Before we get stuck into the episode, I just wanted to say that if there is a drop in sound quality throughout, I'm very sorry, but in respect of social distancing during COVID-19, I've had to record episodes remotely. In this challenging time, we're all trying our best, so I hope everyone is staying safe and that you enjoy the episode. Welcome, Victoria. Thank you so much for coming on and chatting with me today. I really appreciate you giving up your time. I think it would be a really great starting point if we could go all the way back and talk a little bit about your experience growing up in Denmark.
Sure. Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm from Denmark, born and raised in Denmark. Lived very normal life. Besides, I was a professional dancer from a very young age, so I was always traveling and always rehearsing. I had my own TV show from when I was around 12. We did the first couple of episodes until around 18, 19. I started singing and just doing basically everything. So TV, dancing, singing, all of it since I was very little. And then when I turned 18, I moved to LA by myself right after high school.
Wow.
Kind of to pursue something bigger, because Denmark is a great country. I love Denmark. I love my family. I love my friends there. But there is a limit to how big you can dream. You know, like it's a small country and people also have smaller minds, I like to say, in the sense of people aren't allowed to dream big. And there isn't a lot of opportunities if you are in my field. So I got offered, or I was talking to a major record label back in Denmark, but I decided to turn it down and I decided to move to LA. And I took the last season of the production out of the TV show out there to LA. And I've been in LA since. It's been like now almost 10 years.
Wow, that's a crazy story. I can't believe how much you'd already done by the age of 18. And the fact that you turned down that opportunity, that must have been pretty scary at the time. You know, I'd say it was a big risk to let that go.
Yeah, definitely. But I felt like it was a big risk, but I also felt like what they were presenting me with wasn't true to my character. It wasn't true to like my integrity. It wasn't exactly what I wanted. And I think if you first start sacrificing that, like you were kind of going downhill. You know, they wanted me to dye my hair dark. They wanted me to sing in Danish. And I just had a bigger vision and they weren't on board with that vision. And I had already like traveled all over Europe. I won like silver and bronze at the World Championship in multiple dance competitions. You know, I danced ballroom, hip hop, jazz, ballet, like anything you can think of. So I already kind of had, like, I knew what I wanted from a very early age, which also caused a lot of bullying, because when you are very sure about what you want, you make people that are unsure very uncomfortable. So I kind of think I knew what I wanted from an early age, and my mom was always very supportive. Even though, like, we joke that I'm the only camera whore in our family. Like, no one does anything like I do. Like, everyone is like regular lives, regular go to school. Like, I'm the only one who's like this. So it was like never my mom like pushing me into it, or like her fallen dreams that she's now like portraying on me, or you know. So but I always knew what I wanted, and I was willing to take a risk. And I was like, if I'm going to do it, like, I'm going to do it big.
If we just backtrack a little bit, I'd be so curious to know what it was like essentially growing up on camera. What was that life like for you, waking up and filming your TV show every day?
So people always think like, quote unquote, you grow up on camera. But for me, it was like we shoot for 3 weeks and we make it seem like it was 6 months of my life or a year of my life,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So, and I think from an early age, because I was in the media a lot, I learned how to I learned how to make the world feel like they know me, but I still kept a lot of stuff private. So I never there were certain things I wouldn't show, and like I was good at putting on not necessarily a character, but more like my stage person, you know? And I think that really helped me kind of like have two different worlds where I could also be with my friends and be normal. And then as I was going into like this camera, whether it was TV, dance competitions, like fashion shows, commercials, shows, like whatever it was, like, you know, I put on my makeup, put on my self tanner, put on my hair, put on my nails, my costume, and then I go into that person, if that makes sense. So like that way, I kind of think that's why it kept me so sane,
Yeah.
and I didn't like have to like act out or anything like that. And also my mom always kept us very grounded from an early age. She like we traveled the whole world, me and my sister and my mom, but we also had 10 foster kids growing up, and everywhere we would go in the world we always had to go and visit their like skid row area, that homeless area, just to kind of get this whole idea of like you're just one decision away from making the wrong choice or wrong decision, and you can end up down here with these people, you know? Because my dad, he unfortunately left when I was 2, and he spent the majority of his time like running the streets on drugs, just never really being there for me, and always having an addiction with drugs and alcohol.
That's really incredible. And to hear, you know, even just from speaking to you for what, the last 10 minutes, I can already gather that you did so seamlessly strike that balance between keeping yourself in the normal world with your feet on the ground and, you know, indulging in this world of entertainment, which I feel like there's such a stereotype around child stars, if you want to call it that, that by the time you reach 18, you're just completely off the planet and, you know, you don't even know what's real anymore and all that kind of stuff. But it seems like you really handled that really well with, I guess, the support of your mom and your family.
Yeah, definitely. And I think just like the whole way of my mom constantly keeping us grounded and showing us, like, one of the things that she installed in both me and my sister is having compassion for others.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like the leading force in everything we would do. So it never really like my quote unquote fame never like got to my head, or you know what I mean? Because like compassion was such a leading force in how we were living our lives growing up, and still is. um so I think that definitely made the difference. And then I mean, I still, after I moved to LA, definitely went through a very rough time and rough years, and kind of got off the path of everything that I wanted to be and my like just who I am as a person. But I think you also have a choice, you know. And back then I was always I believe in God, and I would always pray like, this is my goal, this is my dreams, this is what I want. And like for so long I was like, why is it not happening for me? Like I worked so hard for it, like I don't understand, why is God not answering my prayers? And as I got older, I realized that he was actually protecting me, because at that time that I was asking for certain things, I wasn't ready, as like my character wasn't ready to receive that type of money, that type of fame, that type of responsibility. So now looking back, I'm like, wow, I really was protected the whole time.
So you did reality TV for quite a number of years, from 12 to around 18, I think you said. Did you ever have any moments throughout those years where you might have stopped and thought, you know, maybe I don't want to go down this path anymore, or I don't know, bored of it, or you didn't want to do it anymore? Or was it always just something that you were really passionate about and you enjoyed doing?
back then I was always passionate about doing it. I always enjoyed doing it. It wasn't until I got a little bit older, like around high school age, when I was around like that 17, 18, right before moving to LA, that I kind of took on other people's fears of, oh wow, what if it doesn't work out for her, or what is like your backup plan, or like, you know, those types of fears that other people have, you know, because a lot of times people are projecting their own fears onto you,
Mhm.
and it really has nothing to do with you or your path. But up until then, like, I was so set in my mind, and I had no doubt that this is what I'm going to do, and there was no way it's not going to happen for me. But then I got into like high school, and people, you know, in high school everyone is so insecure.
Yeah.
um so I came in here like, I know what I want. This is what I'm gonna do. I'm like getting great grades, but I never show up in school because I'm always on the road. I'm doing TV and like, you know, so a lot of like really, really like heavy bullying started, like harassment. And that's when I started for the first time really in my life, like doubting if I could make it because of other people projecting their fears onto me.
And what do you think it was about you, or I guess your character, that enabled you to persevere through that and not just give it up? Because I know what you're saying, you know, high school is such a time of uncertainty, insecurity. And I know you're saying you were very set in your goals, but it can't have been easy to all the time, you know, block all of that out and just keep going when you were so young yourself too.
No, definitely it was not easy. There was times where I would like cry myself to sleep and like be really, really sad and depressed. And but at the same time, I didn't know anything else because I've been doing this since I was two,
Yeah.
you know? So it's like even the days where I didn't feel like doing it because of like just being bullied or like, you know, just being in the mood, like it was still like my default. Like that's just what I'm gonna do. Like I go to rehearsals, I go like, you know what I mean? Like I don't, like without even thinking about it, like that's what I was gonna do anyway, every day anyways.
Yeah.
So I think that kind of like what kept me going through it and just kept sticking to it. And then I think also, of course, my mom's like unwavering support, like always.
You mentioned that you moved to LA at the age of 18 by yourself. That must have been, you know, the most exciting thing, but also the most terrifying thing ever. Can you take me back to that time and how you were feeling, and I guess the process of that move?
Yeah, so I moved to LA when I was 18. I turned 19 like a couple months later. Um, it was extremely uncomfortable, but it's also when you were the most uncomfortable when you grow the most.
Mhm.
Um, but it was also very lonely. Like I didn't know anybody, like not one person. So I kind of had to put myself in positions to get to know people. I had to be really comfortable being alone. I had to get really comfortable just enjoying my own self and being okay with going to restaurants by myself and going to parties by myself and going to the pool and, you know what I mean, like connect
Yeah.
with people and put myself out there and talk to people, while still like being safe and still, you know. So it definitely taught me like how to be alone and how to be okay with that and how to create a life by yourself. And it also just taught me how to be able to talk to anybody, be able to hold a conversation with anybody. It taught me how to just like just really just be okay with not knowing and having faith.
Yeah.
um but it definitely was scary, but it was very lonely at times, definitely.
And so, did you have a job lined up, or did you have a plan when you landed?
So this is how it happened. We were here on vacation, right? We've been here a lot. When I was younger too, we had a house in Malibu, like when I was like
Oh,
2 years
nice.
old. So we always like we would come here on vacation. So we were here on our vacation, and we hadn't been here in like 8 years because of all my traveling with work and like dancing and stuff. So we were here on vacation, and one day I came to my mom and I was like, "Hey, you know what? I think I'm going to stay." And she was like, no, you're not." I was like, "Yeah, I am." And she's like, "Okay, well, if you found a place to live in 2 days, like, because we had to leave in 3 days. She was like, then I guess you're staying. And I was like, all right, cool. And then 2 days went by and I was like, hey, we have a showing today. And she's like, a showing for what? Where I'm gonna live. And she's like, what? She's like, are you sure? I'm like, yeah, we're gonna go there today at noon. Like, just, yeah, come. So, and then she was like, cool, I guess you were staying. Like, all I'm asking you to do is just don't drink and don't smoke because you're still 18. You have to be 21 here in America. Like, and my mom has installed really good values and morals in me. So she already knew that. So that's really how it happened.
That's mad. I can't believe you just you're just like, I'm not going home.
Yeah,
I love that.
planning. Like, I will say though, the first 2 years I was a lot more home. Like, I was home like maybe 5 times a year, where now like I have not been home in over a year. So of course I was traveling more back and forth back then.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that wasn't really a plan, because I think sometimes or most times we get stuck in the how rather than the why,
Yeah.
And I don't think back then I understood the concept to the point where I could explain it. But now as I'm older, that's what it was. Like, I wasn't so concerned about how I was going to make it. It was more the why. Like, I knew why, because this is my dream. This is what I want to do. I want to change the world. I want to impact the world. I want to show others that this is possible. So I think I've always just been more focused on the why rather than the how.
Did you, because you're a singer now, so, or a recording artist, so did you get a record deal before you went out, or how did you break into that scene? Because I'm sure that was difficult in itself as well.
Yeah, so no, I've never been signed. I've never had a manager. I've never had an agent. Really just was out networking, and just, I believe if you show up in life, like, life's gonna reward you, And things were just happening very naturally, like, out, just showing up, going to places, like, and again, I don't know even like how it happened, but it was like, I'll be at a restaurant and the person next to me was a producer, like that type of way. And I truly, truly believe that's how it works when you have faith and when you start manifesting your dreams and telling the universe what you want, because then the universe is going to do everything it can to serve you with your needs. So that's really how it happened. And one person would tell that person, I'll meet this person here, that person there. And like, just that, like, even when I moved into my first apartment by myself, there was 2 producers living right next door to me. Like, it was just like stuff like that just kept happening for me.
What is the LA scene really like, I guess? Because from the outside, it's that thing of like the American dream. We're going to go to LA. We're going to make everything happen for us. But then there's also, it's a lot of toxicity that goes into that, and a lot of cattiness and all that kind of thing. How did you navigate that entertainment industry in the world's most notorious city for that kind of thing?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I definitely got caught up in all of those types of things, like all the negativity, all the toxic, like just toxic people, and definitely been screwed over a bunch of times, lost a lot of money. And it wasn't until 2016 in December, where the day I had a big release in Billboard magazine that I've managed to get myself. They were featuring my music video and the song I did with Iggy Azalea's team. And that day, I ended up getting sick. I had a wisdom tooth extracted. And a month later, 3 weeks later, and that time too, I had like a major like publicist behind me. I was doing literally every single red carpet you can think of. I would do 3 movie premieres in a night, like just always out and about. And 3 weeks later from my release, I ended up in the hospital because I had a deadly facial infection
Oh my
from this
God.
wisdom tooth. Yeah, and I ended up having emergency surgery because my cheek and my ear was like one surface, and it just kept getting worse and worse and worse. So eventually I lost my hearing and my vision on my right side for a period of time. And I was highly medicated. I was like on 12 different antibiotics, 9 different opiates every 20 minutes, like just not like just completely out of it. And when I got out of the hospital with a home nurse, and my mom had to fly out here and take care of me together with my assistant, the only thing I really remember from the hospital was that I woke up one moment and I couldn't remember the last time that I was truly happy. I remember happy times, and at the time I was with my ex-boyfriend. We were traveling all over the world. We were living in Beverly Hills. We had like Porsches and Mercedes, and like everything from the outside looked really perfect. But I could not remember the last time I like truly felt like happiness in my heart for like the last 4 years. So at that moment, I was like, what is going on? Like, I'm doing everything that I love and everything I've always worked for. But I think I just kind of had lost myself in the LA scene. And I was starting, like, I was doing things that other people were doing. And I was telling myself, like, oh, this is what you like to do too. But I didn't like to do it. Like, I'm not really like, I don't like to go out to party every night. Like, it's not really my thing. It makes me feel really depressed. But it was kind of the scene. This is what you do. So I was just telling myself, oh, this is fun. So I started this whole journey of first off firing everybody that worked with me, getting rid of like basically all my friends, my ex-boyfriend. And then I just went on a spiritual journey of really finding myself and also finding my purpose, because as you grow and you get older, like your dreams change, your purpose change. And just really just spending, I think, almost like 2 years of just rediscovering myself and what I want and my purpose and how I want to change the world. I lost everything. So when you get stripped from everything, you really need to, like, that's when you get to the point of like, who am I without all these things that I have had for so long? So I went on this whole journey and I realized that I have gotten away from serving. I've gotten away from really giving back, which is like truly my heart. And like in LA, in the entertainment scene, you can't be a giver because people just take. So I have stopped giving, but my nature, like who I am to the core, is a giver. So I started a nonprofit. I started serving in Skid Row, which is like the biggest homeless community in America. I started a preschool at a homeless shelter. I started a youth program, a teen program. And eventually I had like 148 kids. I would take them out on the weekends. I had a bunch of them over for Christmas. And just doing that was just fulfilling me in a whole different way. And just like everything just kind of changed my perspective on what's important. And I realized that all the answers that I was seeking was coming every time I was out serving, when I was giving back, and when I was just inspiring someone else to be better and sharing my story about my dad and how I still made it, and that you can still have dreams and you can still follow through with your dreams. And so everything really changed. And then I've been taking a break now from music just because of all these amazing opportunities that's been coming my way with me having a nonprofit. So I kind of took a break just because I wanted to do it because I love to do it. I wanted to do it on my way. I wanted to do it on my terms. And I didn't want to do it because of my fear of what other people might think of me, or do it because you're supposed to put a video out every 3 months or every 2 months, or like I didn't want to do it on anyone else's terms, because I was like, that it doesn't make me happy. And if I could continue this route this way, I am going to end up not wanting to do it like ever again.
That's incredible. Wow, you've been through so much, but I think it's amazing to see how you completely did a 180 on your whole situation after being in hospital. That's really incredible to hear. Do you think it is possible to have that, I guess, dream recording career that we all see from the outside, in I don't know, Justin Bieber came to my head, that kind of sphere, and still be a wholesome, giving person that is happy with themselves? Do you think it is possible to have those two things at the same time in the environment that you experienced?
That's a really, really good question. Like, really good question, because I ask myself that every day. Because, I mean, even some of the biggest artists that I know, like, they are so miserable. They're so unhappy. Um, and it's like, what I struggle with is I have gained, so when I first got out of being sick and like started my journey, I wrote down a list of all the flaws and all the things that people were like either accusing me of or I knew that I had. And I was like, I'm going to work through this list before I'm going to start any new relationships, because I was like, why do I keep attracting the same type of people?
Mm-hmm.
And I realized I am the common denominator. So for me to attract better, I have to become better. So, and in that process, I realized that it's so hard to like be in an environment with people that are a certain way without you slowly becoming like that as well. So right now I am in the middle of figuring out the best way for me to do both, to still be true to who I am and still doing music and doing entertainment. So it's kind of like in a process of like step by step, day by day, figuring out how I can best do it. And I wish I had like a very concrete answer for you, but I don't. But it's just me being super transparent, because it is still something I struggle with. One of my good friends, she's a big actress, been an actress since she was a kid, been on every TV show you can think of. And she is kind of going through the same thing. But as I'm going through this, I'm attracting people who is just like that. And we're together creating new things to do together, like in the entertainment space, you know? So it is honestly is something that I day by day have to, like, I still ask myself, and I just try to do my best to do what makes me happy. And also just like not even thinking about like how it's supposed to look from the outside, the perception, because I've met Justin Bieber several times, and I know a lot of people that work with him, like that know him like closely, and I don't ever want to be how BS depressed as he is, like never,
Yeah.
you know, and he doesn't even want to be. That's why he settled down. He got married, and he's still working through, you know, like that trauma it comes with from being in the entertainment industry.
It's so interesting to hear your take on it, having been, really in the thick of it. And it is so sad when you see such talented people that bring so much happiness to the people that are watching them and consuming whatever it is they're doing, but then end up being so unhappy themselves. I think that's really sad. Also, what I was picking up from what you're saying, it's that really cliche saying, but it's so true. Your vibe attracts your tribe, and it sounds like that's maybe what's going on for you a little bit now. But I'd be really interested to hear a little bit more about your work as an activist. And I know you have a really, I love your online platform as well that you have, promoting veganism and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me a little bit more about that work that you're doing?
Yeah. So as I went on my whole spiritual journey and really like came back to the core of being raised on compassion and empathy, I realized that first of all, I like if I was caring about people and like dogs, and I've been rescuing dogs for a while now, like I had to care about the rest of the animals too, right? So my friend, he introduced me to this very popular vegan restaurant, and first I was like, oh, I don't know about this. Like, I don't really like salads. Like, I'm not like the salad type of girl. Like, you will not see me at a restaurant be like, oh, that salad looks so good. Like, that's not me. So I was like, I don't know if I can do this. Like, I really want to because it sounds really cool, but I just don't know if I could be vegan. But he took me there, and I was blown away. I was like, why is all this regular quote unquote food vegan? And then he showed me a video of how animals are being treated at slaughterhouses all over the world, whether it's in Europe, it's here in America, like it's all the same. And I could not finish watching the video. And in that moment, I knew that if I can't watch how my food ends up on my plate, I for sure don't deserve to eat it.
Mm.
So that's kind of how that started. And it kind of goes along with, my nonprofit of having compassion and empathy for everybody and anybody. Because I have this saying that everybody you meet is somebody. Whether it's the bum on the street, that's still someone's dad, it's someone's brother, it's someone's son. And the same way with animals, that pig is actually someone's little baby. And so it just kind of became a whole thing. And I started studying a lot and really realizing how easy it is to be vegan. And I also, I've been vegan now for almost 2 years. And I have never felt better. Like, I used to always have a stomach ache. I used to always be bloated, and I have not been bloated or had a stomach ache once since I went vegan. And just, I just realized that speaking up for what's right is so necessary. And for a long time, I was always told not to speak up too much, from publicists and just, you know what I mean? Like the industry,
Yeah.
you don't want to step out too much because you still want everyone to like you. But I was like, no, I feel like if I have a platform, I would rather make an impact than impress people. I want to speak up for what's right. And I want to do it from a place, from of compassion and empathy, and not being teachy or schooly or telling you this is how you're supposed to do it,
Yeah.
but just being the example, and every morning I have this prayer. I always pray that I will walk in love, hear love, speak in love, act in love, thinking love, embrace everyone in love, just practicing just my heart and just checking in with my heart every day. And that's really how I want to even be as an activist, as someone who is changing the world, doing it from a place of love rather than a place of anger. So that's really important to me.
If you had to, I don't, no one can predict the future, but if you could look into the next few years, do you know what they would or what you would like them to look for you in terms of your nonprofit, in terms of your career in entertainment? Do you have a little bit of an idea as to how you're going to shape it out, or is it really just in a stage of figuring how everything works together?
Yeah, so I think the next year for me, the next couple years for me is probably in my nonprofit. That my whole vision is I want to change and impact 1 million lives. I want 1 million people to say she changed my life. So with that, we are going back to redoing my preschool. I have now more volunteers than ever because I've been doing this all by myself. Um, and I've been paying for everything by myself as well. So I've started a lot of new projects. We have this workout every Sunday called Sweat for a Cause,
Oh, I've
where
seen that. That's really cool.
we have one of my really good friends, an amazing DJ. She does the DJing, so it's live music, and she's also a really good motivational speaker and stuff. So she motivates everyone. I do the workout, and then we have another one of my close friends who does unwind your mind at the end, setting the intention for the week. And we have awesome raffle gifts. We have Sweet Sweat donate and all these major brands, and then people just donate whatever they can. If they can't donate, that's fine. If they want to donate, that's awesome. So we have that going, and we really want to take that out in the world and not just do it online as a virtual thing. Because it also kind of goes in hand with being in entertainment, because all three of us are in entertainment, but it's just a different way of using our platform as entertainers and using it for something good. And then I just started going into prisons, juvenile prisons, and I'm about to go into a maximum male facility where I do mentorship programs. So all of that is kind of taking place right now. I'm in the middle of writing a book about my whole journey. And I think for my career as a musician, as a recording artist, I would love to put out my EP, but I would love to do it in a way where it's more, because the whole EP is kind of like the dark side of living in LA and chasing your dreams. So I kind of want to combine it with some public speaking at high schools, and that way give people more of some content that they can actually use and benefit from, rather than just putting out music, because I really do think there is a shift happening, where it's more about what, like, are you really bringing anything? Like, what are you bringing to people? What are you giving people? Is there actually like content in it that they can take with them, rather than just, oh, this is a cool song, this is just another girl dancing and singing, So I think as I'm getting older, as I'm growing, like, that's how I want to do my music side, like my more entertainment side, bringing more like content and just making more of like an impact rather than just getting on stage and singing and dancing.
I think it's safe to say that you have experienced a lot of what, is generalized and I guess a generic perception of success. You've made it, you've had the big house, the career in LA, the whole thing. But I'd be interested to know what your personal definition of that word is.
I think success is you waking up feeling your best self and you making an impact on someone else's life. That to me is success. I think people have like misunderstood the word success for a very long time. I don't think the word success, purpose, like, that has nothing to do with you, really. I think that is something you are doing for others, for the world. Like, you having success comes with a responsibility, because you stepping into your own purpose is not necessarily for you. It's for, like, it's to show others what's possible. It's to inspire others to go follow their dreams. And I think a lot of times, like, people think success is about themselves, about them feeling or them having certain things. But I just think success is more of like what's going on the inside of you. Because there's plenty of girls out in LA who does nothing but marry a rich guy, and they have a big house and a car and, the purses and the jewelry, and like, but is that considered success? Not in my book, because they don't wake up feeling like they're having a purpose. They don't feel happy. They don't feel fulfilled, and they are not out making the world a better place in any type of way.
So my last question for you, and then I will let you get on with your day. If I put your 10-year-old self in front of you from where you're sitting today, and having been through your incredible life story and all of your experiences, what's the biggest piece of advice you would give your 10-year-old self moving forward in life?
I think if I had my own 10-year-old self in front of me, I would tell her that, yeah, it's going to be tough. It's going to be a lot tougher than it is for most people, but it's also because you are meant to impact so many more people than the average person. So keep pushing. Like, you are going to get through this, but you're getting through this because you need to inspire someone else. Like, your journey, your hardship is not for you. It is really so you can have a platform and speak to so many more people and impact so many more people.
I love that. That's really great advice. And speaking to you has been so inspiring. I'm already feeling, so much better after that conversation, and you really got me thinking about a lot of things. So I just want to say thank you so much for giving up your time to chat with me and to share your incredible story. It's been really great listening to it.
Thank you so much. No, it was awesome. It was so much fun. I was like, wait, we already done?
Thank you so much for listening, and as always, please rate, share, and leave a comment if you like what you hear. And don't forget to follow @WhatIt'sLikePod on Instagram and Facebook. For more information on Victoria's organization and to listen to her music, visit the links provided in the show notes. I'll be back on Thursday with more inspiring stories, but for now, this has been What It's Like with Luz.